So what I'd like to encourage you to think about is an alternate view of what it means to make progress in a startup. Instead of advancing the plan or making features or writing code, I want us to think about something called validated learning. Because to me, that is actually the true unit of progress in a startup. Brian mentioned that I did a startup called IMVU, IMVU. It's a 3D avatar, social network, instant messaging product. The whole notion of who our target customer was completely wrong. We thought we were selling to adults. Turns out it's teenagers who want to use our product. Personally working crazy hours for 6 full months to build the first version of that software. I was the technical co-founder. It was my job to write the code that would do the IAM interoperability. And at the end of 6 or 9 months, we basically realized that that whole strategy was completely wrong, and that we needed to build a standalone IAM network, and all that code had to be thrown away. And I was really upset, because I was sitting to myself and saying, wait a minute, are you telling me that if I had spent the last 6 months of my life on a beach somewhere, just drinking, I would have contributed just as much value? What if we had put up a single web page with no product at all, offering people a chance to download an instant messaging add-on that we hadn't yet built? Since I happen to know that we would have gotten a 0% click-through rate, would we even have had to build the second page apologizing for not having it? No, we wouldn't have. Therefore, would we have learned the same amount from a 1-hour web page as we did from 6 months and 40,000 lines of code? The core idea, we call it innovation through experimentation. Instead of making beautiful plans, what we want to do is make provisional plans and then test them scientifically. My assertion to you is that most of you right now, when you go to work, are practicing product development astrology. Okay? You make a plan, you do something, and then whatever happens, you find a way to make that consistent with the plan that you made. That's how we avoid getting fired as general managers, or when we work for general managers. We look at a graph and say, well, the numbers went up on this date, and we shipped something around that time, so therefore the numbers going up must be correlated with the thing that we did, which anyone who's taken one statistics class knows is completely bogus. And yet most of the decisions that we make, especially as entrepreneurs when we're in the reality distortion field, have no more scientific rigor than astrology. And what I want to tell us to do is to stop doing that. It's not necessary. We can bring scientific rigor into the process of innovation itself by conceiving of every product development activity as an experiment, rather than as an attempt to build something, make money, get customers, or whatever. If everything is an experiment, then if we're willing to write down what our hypotheses are, we can actually invalidate those hypotheses early, and therefore we can do this thing we call the pivot a lot sooner. A startup is nothing more than a catalyst that turns ideas into products. Everything else it does is actually a side effect. When customers interact with those products, we have the opportunity to measure their behavior and collect data, both qualitative and quantitative. And once you have data, you have the opportunity to learn, which influences the next set of ideas. Okay, it's a very simple 3-stage feedback loop. We call it build, measure, learn.